So I watched this new movie on Netflix, Mignonnes. You may recognize it as Cuties. I'm sure you all saw the articles a few weeks ago talking about how Netflix is releasing this movie that exploits the bodies of young girls and gives a certain disgusting type of person an outlet. If you're like me, though, you also know that everyone and their aunt on Facebook has been posting certain things that are misinformed, uncredible. Just straight up lies. And for that reason, I was hesitant to believe the stuff that I was seeing about the movie. I wanted to give Netflix and, the director of the movie, Memuna Decore, probably saying that wrong, but I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. Surely this nice French lady couldn't have created something so exploitative, and even more surely, Netflix wouldn't be tone deaf enough to release it, especially when there are certain types of people waiting on their computers with bated fingers to push their own conspiracy theories on social media. I just thought it was a classic Harry Potter situation. A bunch of parents get together, they don't read the books or watch the movies, they just decide, there's wands in there, there must be demons. Then they actually read the books or watch the movies and realize that it's not that bad. Most of them did that. I wanted to be informed about this movie. I didn't just want to accept what was being pushed on social media or be a sheeple, as they say. So I watched the movie myself. And yeah, I can confirm that it is problematic, to say the least. And it deserves a lot of the shit that it's getting. And rest assured, I'm going to be doing a lot of shitting in this video. But I also think it's worth discussing why this movie had so much infamy amongst conservatives. Okay, there, I said it. I'm sorry. It had to be said. I'm not saying that all conservatives share dumb misinformation, but it just so happens that in this case, the ones that did are. But no, leading up to its actual release, people on the right were saying, look at this. Look at this movie that Netflix is releasing. They're trying to normalize... I can't say the word, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's the sex, but they kept saying that, and then they kept saying that this kind of thing is indicative of the fact that Hollywood has an underground sex trafficking ring. It's classic PGE, Pizzagate energy, if you will. And then you have the people on the left saying that, I'm sure this movie isn't as bad as everyone's saying. Netflix just gave a really inaccurate synopsis of it and used a really misleading poster change from the original movie that makes it look way more risque than it is. Then we actually watched the movie. Now, I do want to talk about all that stuff, how the conversation has shifted or how it hasn't shifted since the movie's been released on a wider scale. But before I do that, I feel like I have to do my due diligence and talk about Cuties as an actual film. And you may be thinking to yourself, no, Cuties doesn't deserve to be discussed. I hear you. I promise I'll get to that stuff as well. Just hop in, hang tight, and enjoy the show. So if you don't know, Cuties follows the story of this 11-year-old girl. Her name is Ami, and her family is very religious, very strict, and very conservative. But upon attending her new school, she becomes fascinated with this hip-hop group who consist of 4 girls that also attend the school. She befriends these girls and ultimately joins the dance group. This exposes Ami to a whole new world of hypersexuality that she's been completely unfamiliar with up until this point. This causes her to lean so far in that direction that even her friends in the group think she's gone a little too far with it by the end of the movie. Nevertheless, they end up performing in a dance competition at which the audience boos them for their very sexualized moves. It's in this moment that Ami realizes that she's in over her head, and then the movie ends with her realizing that she just wants to grow up like a normal kid. You know, she doesn't want to act this way just to fit in, but she also doesn't want to dive headfirst into the closed-minded ideals of her own family either. Her mother, realizing the strictness of her own belief system, ultimately decides to let her daughter do what she wants within reason. You know, everything by the end of the movie turns out to be okay. Now that's the real synopsis of the movie, as opposed to the one that Netflix used, which pretty much says, and I'm paraphrasing here, young girl discovers herself through twerking her way to the top, or something like that. What? But yeah, overall the message of the film is that we as adults need to be aware that children are presented with ideas and things like this on social media, and they see them as black and white. They see their choices as being one of two extremes, and we need to be aware of that. That message is of course important, and I do agree with the filmmakers there. The film also attempts to show that young girls are extremely over-sexualized and exploited in the media. They do this by over-sexualizing and exploiting young girls in the media. See, it's like poetry, they rhyme. So yeah, the problem of this movie really isn't about the message or the intent of the movie. It's really more about the execution and the complete and utter ignorance of everyone who created this movie and distributed it. Cuties is like if I made a movie and I wanted to show how MLMs are bad. You know, how 99% of the people who join MLMs don't make a profit on their investment, how a lot of the stuff that they're selling isn't FDA approved or regulated in any way with no proper testing to speak of. Oh, how'd that get there? And in order to show this on film, I make someone join, insert essential oils MLM here, and then they just spend all of their money on essential oils until they're massively in debt. And then at the end of the movie, I just say, see, look, this is bad. Do you see how this person was exploited by this MLM? And by me? Yeah, that's bad. It just completely discredits your entire message and really your whole movie. That's why I've been showing clips from BoJack Horseman, one of my favorite shows of all time, instead of the horrific scenes that take place in the movie Cuties. When you make a statement like children in this world are constantly exploited and over-sexualized, then you follow that up with just look at the actual young children being exploited and over-sexualized in my movie, you come off as hypocritical, obviously, and that would be the same case if I showed clips from it in my video. So what do we make of all this? You know, now that the dust has settled, does this mean that the QAnon conspirators were right? That Hollywood really is an underground pedophile ring, and they paid Netflix and this director off just to normalize pedophiles? I think it's late enough in the video now. I can say the word. Is that what happened? No. I've seen and read several interviews from the actual director of the movie, and it seems like she had overall good intentions with it. You know, it's supposed to be provocative. It's supposed to get people talking about the negative impact of social media on the body image and self-esteem of young girls. Just because I totally don't support the exploitation of minors doesn't mean I deny that the conversation about said exploitation is worth having. I do think that Netflix is far more to blame here than the director of the movie. I already mentioned the bad synopsis of the film and the poster change that they did for their own release of the movie. But more than that, obviously the content of the movie is absolutely deplorable in any case, but culturally it's a little more accepted to a French-going audience. But as an American-based company, it's hard to even fathom that Netflix did not see this coming. And as a result of this, we've seen conservative politicians calling for an investigation into Netflix for exploitation. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for investigating big companies, you know. Do Amazon next, my guy. Hold that thought, past Cam. Future Cam here to give you a future Cam update. So I was gonna upload this video today, actually, and turns out we just got the news that Netflix was indicted by a grand jury in Texas for the distribution of child pornography. So I guess really all I have to say to that is, congrats, Teddy. Congrats. Back to you, past Cam. The problem is that we see those same politicians using this situation to call everyone on the left side of the aisle a pedophile, which is a disgusting accusation to make. I do think it's important to mention that this movie is in French, and when I watched it, I watched the dubbed version. I know, sub gang for life, but I did watch the dubbed version of the movie, and I do think it's extremely tone deaf that for the child actors in the movie, and I haven't verified this, but it sounds like they used adult voice actors. Like, come on, dude. I mean, this is probably something that happens all the time in movies, but you'd think with something that's so polarizing like this subject matter, they would have been a little more careful. You're already presenting them in an overly sexualized way that is extremely inappropriate for girls their age. And then on top of that, you make them sound older than they are. It's pretty indefensible. I got nothing for that one. I kind of think of it like the controversy a few years ago with the Gucci blackface mask. I don't think that anyone who worked for that company really thought that they were doing something offensive. I think that they were just incredibly ignorant. So that brings us to the next topic of conversation, which is the inevitable phenomenon that comes with anything like this these days. The Netflix is over party. We did it, you guys. We told Netflix to stop, and they did. They just shut down. They quit. Everyone at Netflix walked out. The company's done, you guys. We did it. Nice job. We can all go home now. Yeah, so everyone's canceling their Netflix subscription, and it seems to have significantly affected Netflix's market value, which I assume is the goal out of all this, make them hurt. And if you feel convicted to speak with your wallet and cancel your Netflix subscription, more power to you. Just like I am perfectly entitled to not spend money on doTERRA essential oils out of principle. Pam. Now I want to warn you. The clip that I'm about to play behind me is a real clip of the type of sexual content that the younger generation is exposed to on a daily basis. Pretty disturbing stuff. No, but really, they are exposed to really disturbing things on social media every day, and that's not just going to go away. Whether you watch the movie Cuties or not, you have to be aware that what these young girls are exposed to in the movie are exactly what actual young children are exposed to on a daily basis when they go on the internet. This kind of exposure tells young girls and children in general that this is the standard that they have to meet in order to be accepted, and that's entirely independent of the existence of Cuties. Sex is a part of life, and you can either talk to your kids about it, or you can cancel your Netflix subscription and hope for the best. Now, I do want to reiterate, nothing that I say about the message of Cuties justifies the exploitation of the young girls in the film. The fact that they, exploit these girls while also giving, again, a certain disgusting type of person a platform or an outlet is truly disgusting, but it does bring up a conversation worth having. Ironically enough, a similar conversation is brought up by a documentary, which I actually would recommend you watch, called The Social Dilemma. You can find that documentary on, you guessed it, Netflix. So in conclusion, everyone was wrong about Cuties, but also everyone was kind of right. Yes, there are some unforgivable parts in this movie, and Netflix should absolutely be held accountable for giving that a platform. But Cuties does bring up a lot of important issues that should not just be glossed over. And regardless of whether we find ourselves on the left side of politics or the right, we should all be able to come together and shit on this movie. Oh, shit! I think that was the one.
This is good stuff.